Make a decision about what you want to do. If you don't know the destination, if you don't know what you do, you cannot succeed at any of those little steps. You will just flounder all over a lot of things and waste a lot of time and a lot of money not making decisions. And there is always a next step. You just have to take it, and you have to stop telling yourselves, yeah, but. That's the key. You got to get rid of that.
How you learned to be a fantastic negotiator and how you got comfortable asking for the money and getting the money.
Okay, here's the most important thing to know about negotiating. We should be places that you should be seen, either for the networking, for the visibility. It's worth it to you to be there, even without a fee. I think in a good partnership, you find somebody who does what they do and you leave them alone. Like, let them do that thing, or they shouldn't be your partner. Like, if you just think you can do it better than them, they may not be the right partner in that situation. So I think everybody has a certain sense of, I can do more than this. I see people that are doing more in my same business. Why are they here and I'm here? Like, what do I need to do to make that leap? You need to just do it.
Welcome to the Jen Gottlieb Show.
I want you guys to give all the super connector energy that you can muster. I want you to get on your feet, stand up, and give it up for my friend, Shari Wenk.
I'm exhausted just listening to that. Thank you. Thank you. You want me on the other side? Right over there. All right, I'm going right over there.
Keep it going for Shari.
Thank you. All right.
I'm exhausted just listening to that, Byron. Who did all that stuff? How'd we get here? And then I saw on your Instagram this morning you were in a red suit. And I thought, well, my clothes are back in Chicago. So it's either this or a Minnie Mouse sweatshirt from Disney World. So I went with the red.
Well, you missed it this morning. I said, I know that my grandma would want me to be in all fucking red.
Then I am here in tribute of you, grandma, as well.
So she got the
I got the memo. I understand.
All right, so when we were talking back there, the thing that I leaned in the most on, I want to start off with, is you said to me that you built this whole career based on a whole bunch of really big mistakes.
All mistakes and all chances that I didn't understand that what I was about to do was impossible. I'll just give you it in a very small nutshell. It didn't just all happen that way as she described it. I was working in book publishing right out of college, very long time ago, and I was 22, 23, and small publishing house that did a lot of self-help books, like, 1,001 Ways to Grow Petunias, and 200 recipes you can make with carrot sticks, and here was my favorite one, how to be sexy with bugs in your teeth. What do you think that was about? I'll just tell you, you'll never get it. It was about if your man rode motorcycles and you were the chick on the back of the bike, how to be sexy with bugs in your teeth. So I work for a firm like this. And the publisher one day said, we don't do enough in the sports field. Does anyone here know anything about sports? Nobody said anything. I'm 22 years old. I knew nothing about sports. I mean, nothing. If you walked into my house, my parents' house, on a Super Bowl Sunday, my parents would be watching like a Shakespeare marathon. Like, there was no sports in my family. My boyfriend at the time would come in the house and like turn on the game, and it would be like he was watching porn at a funeral. Like, that's how non-sports my family was. So I just stumbled into this thing, and they're like, well, we really, sports books, that's a thing, and we're not doing any, and we should do them. And I had no idea. And that same boyfriend was like, you are really in trouble now, because what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I won't even tell you any of the details that went into it, but I stumbled into this small thing and this small thing, and I made a lot of mistakes not knowing what the hell I was doing, but I was really too stupid to understand that I was making the mistakes. I just, I'll try this and I'll try this. And I had a bestseller and I had another bestseller, and I was just this kid, and pretty soon people learned in the sports business, like if you want to do a sports book, you got to go through her. And before you knew it, the bigger publishers were also doing sports books, but this was a small operation and there wasn't a lot of money in it. I was just making a salary, and I thought, well, I have access to a lot of really big people. And if I leave this job and I flip it over and I become their agent, I can go sell these books and make commission on all of that. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And I did that. And I was like 26 years old, and I was the only person doing these things. I started my own agency. That's where that part of the story begins. And I've been an agent since then. I've only ever worked for myself. And everybody said, you just can't, because in the sports business, everyone works for a big agency. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to live here in Chicago, and I'm going to have my family. And that boyfriend that said, it really can't be done, married me. He still thinks it can't be done, and it's been 38 years. And so in all of that, I stayed with it. I worked my butt off. I have 3 grown kids, all around their early 30s now. They're all married. The last one just got married. I have 3 little grandchildren. And every day, is a struggle for how do you separate the time? How do you get stuff done? How do you be there for everybody? And that's a whole nother part of this talk, probably.
And we're going to get into that part, because you do manage that really well, because you have an amazing family.
I manage it.
We're going to talk about how it can be done. But I want to go back to that pivot that you made when you went from just working from the publisher to then becoming an agent. And you're like, I was 26 years old. I didn't know anything about this. And I just kind of figured out that I could become an agent in this space. What was the big decision that you had to make to step into that with not knowing? Like, where was the start before you're ready moment?
I had run out of things to do in the place I was at. And I just couldn't go any further with it. There was a lot of money to be made out there, but I wasn't making it. And the money, it wasn't really about the money for me. It was about being able to grow. And working with sports celebrities is an exciting business. There's a lot about it. There's a lot of zhuzh to it. And you get to go to, events, and you get to be places. And I met a lot of amazing people. And I couldn't go any further with it where I was. And all these people would come to me and they're like, well, I want to do this book. I want to do this book. And then their agents were coming to me. And I just thought, I can do more with this. And I started with one project that I couldn't do at my current place. And I said, if I leave here and I take this with me, that will be my first client.
What was that?
It was a baseball-related book that wouldn't probably mean anything here, but it did go on to be a big bestseller by a baseball player for the Dodgers at the time, and it just started something, and everything just led to something else, and it wasn't all easy. I had years I did really well, and I had years I didn't barely make 5 figures. I was willing to do that at that time because I was just trying to figure it out. But it wasn't an option for me to do nothing, because I had worked too hard to that point. Listening to some of you talk, Tim and I were in the back of the room for a little while listening, and the work and the love that a lot of you have put into your things. We're not here to talk about me and my story. This is about you guys and what you've done to be here, and what's the next step for all of you. And there is always a next step. You just have to take it, and you have to stop telling yourselves, yeah, but. That's the key. You got to get rid of that.
Let's talk about money, because you mentioned it a little bit.
To talk about money.
We love talking about money. A lot of people
don't love to talk about money.
Talking about money, but it's necessary, unbelievably necessary, especially for your job, because you're negotiating day in and day out. For Tim, but you were back in the day too. And during that time in your life when you started your own business and your own agency, how did you start negotiating these deals with these athletes? Because I know a lot of people in the room are at the beginnings of negotiating deals, and they're terrified to say the first number. They're terrified to negotiate back if somebody says a number and say, oh, how about this? I would just love to hear wherever you want to go, as far as how you learned to be a fantastic negotiator and how you got comfortable asking for the money and getting the money.
Okay, here's the most important thing to know about negotiating. The people you're talking to probably hate it also. And if you can remember that they probably are also afraid to talk about money, it gives you an advantage. If you can take that step to try to, show that you have confidence in this area, you've already won half the battle. My best advice about negotiating is this. People go into it thinking it's a battle. It's to be a confrontation. You're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to have a war, right? And you're going to fight about. It's not. A good negotiation is a collaboration. You're trying to do business with this other person. And most people get intimidated and scared of it because they think, we're going to, we're not talking about world peace here, right? We're talking about making good deals with good people that you want to work with. So instead of thinking of it as a battle and a fight and who's going to win, think about it as two parties who probably want to work together. What's the pathway to making that happen? What's the collaboration? How do we come together on this? Is there a pathway when they say, yeah, we're kind of over here on this? And you can come back to them and say, what's the pathway to get where we want to go? How can we make this work together? So that both sides feel heard and both sides feel like they're doing what they wanted to do. People want to work together. I have never once made a deal by being a bitch. Never. And I have never made a deal with someone who came off like a jerk to me. There's no reason to do it. I don't buy the whole, I hope this doesn't offend, but people talk about the boss babe and the bitch chick and that. I don't buy that. I just think that's offensive. You don't have to come in that way with the big attitude. You're good, smart people with a product or a service, and you're dealing with people that might want it on the other end. You can't be afraid of the rejection. I'm in the business of rejection. I'm literally right when you're an agent, you're in the business of rejection every day. I send out so much, work. I engage in a lot of deals that don't go anywhere. That's my business. It's probably your business too, and you can't be afraid that you're not going to get that. How many people, ask you to come speak or whatever, and it doesn't work out? It's no loss to you. You'll just do something else. So getting over the fear of that, the confrontation with the other side, it's just part of business. It's not really about you personally. It's not a personal rejection of you. It's just that it may not be the right time for them. It may not be the right deal. You may see them again in a year. I hear from people I haven't heard from in 5-6 years, they come back. I'll just use Tim as an example, where they'll say, we'd like to hire him now. I'm like, well, the fee isn't what it was 5 years ago when you asked me the first time, and they're shocked. But, you have to know your business and what you're willing to do, and hopefully good people can come together and make good deals.
You're listening to The Jen Gottlieb Show.
We had a question in the hot seats where it was Sarah Elise was asking it. And she said that she's currently charging between $1,000 to $5,000 for a speaking engagement. And she wants to make more money, but she doesn't know what to price herself at because she's never really done it. And she doesn't know how to make that ask or put that together. If you were going to start going out with a higher price point for Tim or for one of your clients, how would you start doing that? Take me through how you would pitch Tim or one of your clients to a stage and ask for the amount of money that you want to ask for.
So if you want to speak, you have to know your fee, even if it's zero. So the first thing I would tell you is, you said someone, between $1,000 and $5,000. First of all, never quote a range. Here's my negotiating 101 tip. Don't quote a range, because you just told the person you'll take the bottom number. You don't quote a range and anybody quotes the top. Gives you the top, they're like, well, I heard you say 1,000, so 1,000. If you want to say it's not exactly this number, you could say, I'm in the 5,000 range. That tells that it could be more, it could be less, but it's around $5,000, that's your price. Don't be afraid of having a price. They want you to come in. They can say to you, well, actually, we have no budget for this. We're not paying a speaker. It's happened to you, happens to us all the time. And then you can decide if it's worth it to you. It's back to you. But have the fee. Don't make an offensive fee. If I told people, I can get Tim Grover to you for $500,000. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not his fee. But if I said that, I wouldn't expect to get a lot of bites on that, because it's not a reasonable fee for what we do. But if I quote you a reasonable fee, that's up to you. They can take it or leave it. It's your time to go out there and do this event. Or maybe you're at the beginning of your speaking career and you want to get video, you want to get experience. There's value in that. It may not be monetary, but there's value in getting video for your social media, making a sizzle reel, using it to promote yourself. So there's value in doing those things. If you come back from an event and you thought, man, I should have been paid for that, or I should have been paid more, that's usually when you start raising your fee, right? When you start doing events and you're like, man, I crushed that. And people told me I crushed it. And I'm going to take the chance and I'm going to just put the number up a little bit. Sometimes when your fee is too low, people think you're not a good speaker. Because if you were a great speaker, why is your fee so low? So, find out what other people in your space are charging. Find out what's reasonable. And if I would not go speak for $1,000 unless it's that type of a thing where they're like, listen, this is for, it's a charity. We're going to the local school. That's different. But if you're going to an event that's charging for tickets, charging for admission, they're making money on their event, you have the right to say, if you're going to spend your day or whatever time commitment, maybe you're traveling, this is my fee. See what they say. You don't have to get everyone. You might get a few. You might get one. It'll be instructive when you find out what the reaction is to you getting that fee.
All right, this is a personal question. I want you to role play with me. This is for real. This happens to me all the time, and I want to know what I should say. This is real. And Chris is going to appreciate this. All right, someone I know. Someone I know
Okay.
says to me.
Yeah, I know. I already know what you're going to say. I can play both parts.
Yeah,
Okay, go
You're
on.
me.
Okay.
You're me. You're going to say the right thing, and I'm the person asking you to speak. Jen, oh my God, I got connected to you from XYZ. It's so good to be connected. I can't wait to be your friend. We have so many mutual friends. I'm having an event on August 30th, and I would love for you to speak. Can you be there? Are you free?
Let me check my schedule. My fee is, I would put it out there.
Right there, right, second sentence.
Or third or fourth, but I think you have the right to say, because they haven't said it to you, right?
Right.
So so sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, yeah, I have all these speakers coming. I'm not paying any fees. Everybody's coming for free as a friend.
They say that sometimes.
Yes,
but
they do.
sometimes they don't say that part.
Okay.
It's just an open-ended assuming.
I mean, you're asking me as Jen.
Yeah.
You should be charging a fee. And you have a right to say, yes, I'm available. I can do that for you. My fee is typically da-da-da-da-da. And then they can say, oh, I was hoping there would be no fee. But they came to you and you're a professional speaker and everybody knows that. So anybody who looks and follows you and says, okay, look at your Instagram. Speaking. Why would anybody think you have no fee for that? Really?
Thank you.
Why would anybody think that?
No, agreed.
It's not reasonable.
Yeah.
And they can say, oh, God, we're not paying a fee for this. Who else is speaking? Now you listen to all those other people. You can decide, okay, are these people that it looks good for me to be with? Like, will this event reflect well on me? I do that. I think about that all the time. I'll look for Tim, or I'll say, is this an event that we should participate in for other reasons? For you, same for you guys, right? Is it somewhere that you should be? Is it a good place for you to be seen? If it is, you should do it. Even without a fee, you should do it. You should be places that you should be seen. Either for the networking, for the visibility, it's worth it to you to be there. But you can look at some of those too and say, you know what, this group, this meaning the speakers, I don't mean the audience. You might look at it and say, you know what, these speakers, not really reflecting where I'm at in my career, so I'm going to pass on this one.
The power of passing.
The power of passing.
The power of passing.
Yeah, that's the significant thing. Have the confidence to know when to say, this one is not for me.
We were just talking
Everything
about that
is not
recently,
for you.
That you passed on something very specific. How do you decide? Well, I think you just shared a little bit about how you decide what to pass on. Like, how do you not have the FOMO? Because you can't do all things.
First of all, I know my client. So in this case, I know what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. But you should know that for yourself. Will you go to something and be like, oh my God, this was the biggest waste of time? And at the end, I'll be like, why did I do that? I gave something away I didn't want to. So you have the right to look at that and have the confidence to know, well, if I don't get this one, I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to be in it. I'm going to be in for something else.
All right, you mentioned this about the Instagram, speaking. So that I didn't tell her to say that. She just said that. And this is actually a perfect example of why we talk about brands so much. Why you talk about the fact if you want to be a speaker, if you want to be a recognized expert, if you want to be perceived as something specific, you need to be creating that brand around you.
Absolutely.
So what have you seen is the importance of Tim's brand as it backs up his career in speaking and in books and everything?
We show what we want to show. We're very specific. This is true for Tim or for anybody. I won't go specifically down the road with what we do specifically for him because there's decisions we make, based on our business. But what you put out there is a daily ad for yourself. And so if you're trying to show yourself, and let's use, pick a business, the cooking business, because I heard you talk about that, the food business, or whatever your business have, real estate, it doesn't matter. You have an opportunity with your social media to put up literally an ad for yourself every time you post and use it for that purpose. If you're using your social media for a million other things, that's fine also, but you're missing an opportunity to showcase, bring people into your world. If you're using real estate for the example, if you're showing a house, make your viewers excited about the process of it. Jen does it. She's putting on her makeup. People become engaged in her process. And how many of us are afraid? How many people here shoot an Instagram video and then you look it back and you're like, oh, I look terrible, and you delete it. I'm not posting that. Well, you missed an opportunity. And it's obviously a very, it takes a lot to post videos that you don't think look good. So I get that. But in Tim's case, for example, we promote his speaking. He has other businesses, okay? That's not all he does. But that's the thing we want to promote. The work he does with athletes and teams and corporations, we don't promote that in the same way because it's not his style to do that. I hope you don't mind me talking about you, but I'll talk about just in this way. And that's just not what we want to put out there. So we focus on the thing we want to promote. And I don't care if we get, 10 likes or 10,000 likes. I know people are seeing it, and it brings more. It's just an ad. It's a perception. And you should put out there what you want people to know about you.
It's your online resume. It's not necessarily for the algorithm. It's for when you are making that negotiation with that event that you might speak at, and then they want to go see, what kind of content does she have on her social media? What kind of content does he have on his social media? How engaged is it? Are they great on stage? Do they have the goods? Are people commenting? Are they communicating with their community? So this is a perfect segue, though, because you said we focus on one thing. We focus on his speaking. He has other businesses, but the offer that we're making virtually on social media is one thing. I know, because I know you guys, I know we've got a lot of shiny objects stuff happening, like squirrel. I'm working on this, but I might want to do this. And I'm not really quite sure if I want to make the decision here because there's this over here, and I might want to try this. We were talking about that a little bit. What's the importance of making a decision and going in one direction, full ass instead of half ass?
What do you do? What do you do? What is the thing you do? Where is the goal? Where does all this work about? Where do you want this to end up? Because, people say it's, the journey, if you don't know the destination, if you don't know what you do, you cannot succeed at any of those little steps. You will just flounder all over a lot of things and waste a lot of time and a lot of money not making decisions. Make a decision about what you want to do. I used to say, when people say, what do you do? Oh, well, I do book deals and I do marketing and I do this and I write. I make deals for famous athletes. I make deals for sports celebrities. That's what I do. You can chop it up however you want, but for me, if it does not fit in that category in some way, you just end up all over the place. And then you're just busy being busy. You're doing a million things. And people ask you, so what are you doing these days? I did and pretty soon you sound like that crazy person that's just, nobody wants to listen to that. right? Oh, I'm learning 9 languages, and I'm fixing my car, and I'm building a house in the backyard for the kids out of soup cans, and you're just like doing all these things, and you're posting all this on video, right? Don't do that. Like, you're all here because you have a purpose. And nobody joined this group because they were just like, oh, let me just go see, Jen and Chris 4 times a year. You're here because you have a direction. You want to achieve something. Pick the thing and stumble toward it, even if you can't figure out what it is. Make those decisions. Get off that fence.
Yes, the fence. The fence is so painful. You were talking about this over there. Like, even if it's not the outcome that you desire, that you get when you make the decision, that's so much closer to the outcome that you want. It's way closer than being on the fence and being in indecision and being frozen and being stuck. And Shari, you're just the most beautiful example of, like, you didn't really know what you were doing, but you made a lot of you made decisions. Some of them weren't great decisions. You made decisions, and it helped you to get closer and closer to what I feel like right now, you've never been so aligned in your true north and what you're doing.
I went through the whole thing with, family, friends. I'll ask you this question because it's more about you than it is about me. How many people here have been told you work too hard? We never see you. You need to take it easy. You work too much. What is this all for? And if none of this resonates with you, what have you been doing? The thing that you will obsess about is the thing that you love, and it doesn't feel like work, does it? Because it's what you want. It's your end result. Nobody's going to get that, and they don't have to. And that was the hardest thing for me to understand, is that even my closest, my nearest, my dearest, even today, because I'm pretty successful at what I do, they still don't get it, and I don't care anymore. My kids are grown, so I'm kind of like, you're good. Like, you do your thing. I'm not doing this for you. And that's the hardest part, is being able to really target what is that thing going to be, and how do you let that be okay when everybody's kind of pulling at you to not do that thing.
Honestly, I feel like that's a big differentiator in successful people and people that stay the same. Is successful people give themselves permission to allow their work to be fun and enjoyable, and it's what I want to do, and I don't give a shit. Like, I just don't care what you say about me working too much, because this is actually what I love. We talked about this a lot at the Inner Circle Day. So let's talk about work-life, quote-unquote, balance and what that means to you, because I travel a lot. Shari travels probably 10 times the amount that I do, and everywhere I go, I see her. I'm like, where are you off to next? They're traveling everywhere, and she has family and grandchildren and life, and let's talk about how you manage it if you do, or the fact that you don't.
So I would say when I had younger kids, I did not travel like this. This is a newer part of my life. In this stage of my life, my kids don't need me to be home. I'm not sure they totally know that, but they don't. So the work is, for me, is the travel. And in the sports business, the events are out there. They're not always, there was always some degree of travel and things I had to do. When I went into business for myself, and I had 3 kids really quick, like I had 3 kids under 3. And I didn't map it out that way. It's just sort of what happened. And my husband is a lawyer, and he runs a big practice. And so he's really busy and very successful at what he does. And he still does that. So I was sort of in this weird in-between space. Okay, I've got these kids, and I've got this business, and my kids were all over the house, and I was trying to be there, and I can do it all. Nobody can do it all. It's a ridiculous thing to ask of yourself, but I tried. And I would literally, the kids would be crying and this, and I would open a box of Cheerios on the floor, here, kids. And they would be distracted for 30 seconds, or I'd run into the garage to take a call. And I didn't know if they'd notice or care, but even now they laugh about it. One of my sons was remember that time you were on the phone while I was at the barber shop and they shaved my head too close because you weren't watching? I'm I guess they noticed. But I got through those years. I was very determined to keep connected to what I wanted. I knew I could not give 100% to everything. I don't believe that balance is a thing. I think it's an out of whack thing. It's like this. It's the seesaw. You get this, you do this. You hope that people will support you in that and that you have help. You probably won't. It's because everyone else has their own sense of balance and their needs and their wants. They have things they want to achieve too. Like, you'll leave this event today. I don't know if there's any couples here that will go home together, but assuming you all go home to your own families and significant others, and you'll tell them, this was unbelievable. We had such an amazing, and they'll be like, that's nice. But they can't get it because they're not here and they're not you, right? And so you're going to be on your own to take with you what you did here and not let it get lost in someone else's disinterest or lack of understanding. And you can't go home and be like, well, no one understands me. They don't have to understand you. It would be nice, but it's not really realistic. I don't know. Is this red? Do you understand? You get it. Okay. Yeah. And there are people who will go home and they'll be like, you have a great partnership and that's fantastic and you're really blessed to have that. I have it sometimes, but it's the reality. I'm not really joking about it. If my husband was here, he would be like, I don't know what you do. But he appreciates it. He understands what it is, and he's, supportive of what it is. But I don't expect that of anybody, and you really can't. And you can't give up your own thing. The worst thing you hear is when people are like, well, nobody supported me. Well, they're supporting themselves. They don't have to support you. I know that's hard to hear, but sometimes you have to be the one. And you don't have a lot of choice all the time. But don't give up your own beliefs and your own business just because somebody else didn't see what you saw. And I think that's what allowed me to do what I did, because nobody saw it.
I had goosebumps everywhere, so bad.
Get outside of your comfort zone and into your best life, one small step at a time.
Let's talk about business partnerships, though, and team, because you're in one.
Yeah.
And together, you all are a superpower. You do everything that Tim can't, and Tim does everything that you can't, pretty much. Right now you're showing that you absolutely can, Tim.
We do very different things.
You do very different things. And many people in the room are building team right now, and they're thinking about who to hire, what they need. What goes into, when you guys started your partnership, was there a specific role that he needed filled? How did that come together? Because I think that what you guys have created, everybody should have that goal to create that.
So it's a different type of a partnership, the way it started. But for those of you who don't know Tim Grover, he is the world's iconic trainer of the highest level athletes in the world. So that's where he came to me, and that's how I met him. He was training Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, many other, the most elite athletes in the world. And I had known him for a while. We had come together on maybe trying to do a book. It didn't happen. We fell apart for about 10 years. I kind of chased him around, to be honest. This is what I do with all my clients. I chase them until they get bored and they give up. So he gave up eventually, and he called me. He goes, I have an idea. And it was the idea for Relentless, which is now sold millions of copies. And we wrote that together. And so he was looking to take his businesses in another direction, into the marketing arena, speaking, other things. I was looking to work with fewer individuals than I was. I was just a lot of a little of this and a little of that, and it wasn't really working for me. So what works for us, we put that together and it's taken off. I'm skipping ahead in that whole long story. It's been about, 13 years or so. He lets me do what I do, and I take full direction from him as to what he wants to do. We are a partnership, but he is still my client, and I defer to what's important to him, and he defers to what's important to me. If I say this is an event we have to do, he would never question it. If he says, I don't want to do this type of we don't do it. We might, we discuss. I wouldn't say we ever argue about it. But I think in a good partnership, you find somebody who does what they do and you leave them alone. Let them do that thing, or they shouldn't be your partner. If you just think you can do it better than them, they may not be the right partner in that situation. You let that person do what they do. Trust them to do it. If it doesn't work, then you need to address it. But I think the best partnerships, you don't quibble about money. We don't quibble about details. Like, this is what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. We work together almost every day. We're on the road quite a bit. We travel a lot, which can be, for a lot of people, traveling is a tense thing. We've worked, we don't ever have an issue with that. But you have to have a lot of respect for that other person and try to not, keep the peace. That is keeping the peace.
Keeping the peace.
Keeping the peace.
I love that. So you're traveling around with Tim.
I am.
You're making an impact in all of these rooms. Tell us what's next for you or what you're working towards. What's on your mind, so we can all be part of your journey as well.
I think there always has to be a next. The last two words of the book, Relentless, are done, next. You can't be done. Done is how you lose 20 pounds on a diet and then gain back 40. I'm done. I did my diet. I'm done. And then you gain it all back. Or you make a huge commission on a deal and then because you're done, you spend it all. That's what done gets you. So, huge believer in you have to have a next. There has to be a next level. So if we get to some level of we're doing these type of events, you're doing this type of a thing, what's next for that? How can you do something? It doesn't always show you. You don't always know what that is. I went from making book deals to writing some books, collaborating with my clients, and then doing a better type of a book, and then doing bestsellers that, elevating the type of client you work with. You do deals that are in this type of a range, and then you say, you know what? I want to do deals that are in that type of a range. I don't want to work with those people, and no offense to those people. I need to work with a higher level of people. I want to be in better rooms. I want to be with people I can learn from. You do get to a point with this stuff where you get to be the smartest person. You know it all, and now you want to go. You have to elevate. You have to elevate. You have to separate from where you are to get to the next thing, or you will be stuck in one place.
That's so good. And it all goes down to, again, decision making and making the decision to do that. Because I think that there are a lot of people that stay in the same level for too long because they're really nice and cozy there. And it feels really good and really easy. And at what point do you know when it's time to evolve and go to the next level? And is there anything that you can say as we wrap up that's just that maybe little inspiration that somebody that's sitting right here could need to all right, it's time to step it up. It's time to actually make the decision. It's time to take action, even if I mess up.
I think I think that's why you joined a group like this, right? You could be not in a group. You could be doing your businesses, and I don't know what you all do, but you could be just doing it. But you came here to level up. I don't know. I mean, we've never talked about this, and I'm not here to promote this group. I just think that that's why people join a community like this. So I think everybody has a certain sense of, I can do more than this. I see people that are doing more in my same business. Why are they here and I'm here? What do I need to do to make that leap? You need to just do it. And the indecision and the thing that's making you go, yeah, but that will just kill you. The yeah, but is the worst thing you can do. We were just talking about this before, and I know it drives Tim crazy, but I don't do yeah, but. I'll say yes, and also, we can take this into consideration, but consider the and also, and not the but, because the but will just leave your butt in the seat. You will never move forward, and time is ticking for everybody. It doesn't matter what you do. I know people have said you have time, relax, enjoy it. You know what? The greatest achievers, this is my experience, they don't worry about failing. They worry about running out of time.
Yeah, give it up. For lobby shows.
Don't run out of time. Don't be that person that just didn't get there when you wanted to do it. Don't run out of time.
Shari, I am in awe of you. I'm your biggest fan, seriously. And we always like to I was going to open it up to Q&A for the audience, but I feel like you did it all today. Just tell us how we can help you, how we can provide the most value to you. Is there anything that we can do to help you out?
No, I'm good. Follow me on Instagram. I could use followers. I don't promote myself because I always say, as an agent, my job is to be behind my client. If you see me, that's because something bad happened. So as an agent, I always feel like I don't like when agents put themselves out in front. I will say old school in that way, and I think old school is a good thing, by the way. I'm going to do a post about that. In the rare case I do post, I'm going to post about that. But follow me, Shari Wenk, on Instagram, and I'm around, and drop me a note if any time, and it's really a pleasure to see all of you here. I adore you, and I will do a lot of these events, as you know, because my time is spent doing other things. But when you asked me, I was deeply honored, and I was really excited to be here. So thank you. Thank you all very much.
So grateful for you.